Hello, my loves, all my beautiful star seeds out there, my soul family and friends. Welcome back to another video on Starseed Academy. My name is Jenny. So today I have a very special video for you. I've been doing a series without meaning to because this was really just one video about my life on Orion. It was something that came through January of 2020, and it was like a really big lifetime. It had a lot of soul impact. It made a lot of changes. It was full of like trauma and lessons and all of these things. So after grieving it for a few months, because there was a lot of healing to be done, I actually decided to make a video about my experience with having this past life come through. And so many people have resonated with that lifetime. And this happens for you when you heal your childhood. Understand that that is opening the doorway to deeper soul healing. So that's where you need to start. Like, heal your childhood. Let it come up to be healed, and then it's going to come back around, a few months, a few years later for healing again. And healing is not linear. It comes back around like a spiral and comes back around. Every time it comes around, you get to go deeper into it. And you'll see big changes in your life, especially when you're healing your childhood, because you're releasing all of this trauma that you've been holding on to, which creates limiting beliefs, like self-worth issues, not feeling worthy. And so many of us struggle with abundance and abundance blocks because of our childhood trauma. And a lot of people don't link those two things together, but it's about not believing you're worthy when you were treated poorly like that, right? So really focus on healing your childhood and diving deeply. And when you do, and you get a really good handle on it, you're going to notice that past lives naturally come up to be healed. I didn't do anything to have this lifetime come up. You don't need to go searching for it. When it's ready, it will come up. However, if you're not someone who is, regularly meditating or working with their team, like talking and communicating with your guides and angels and galactic team members and councils, that is so beautiful and important, and really takes your spiritual ascension journey and just skyrockets it. But if you're not, daily working on these things, then your past lives might be a little more hesitant to come through, but it wouldn't take much if you had really got that childhood healing under control. And that being said, of course, I offer readings for exactly these issues so that you can find out about your starseed origins and your past parallel lives, right? Because it's not necessarily past lives. It could be, it's all happening simultaneously at the same time. So it's not past and it's not future. It's all happening in this now moment. So that is why these lifetimes, these parallel lifetimes, have so much effect on us. And why when we do that deep healing, it is quantum healing. You are healing through timelines, through lifetimes. And it's so beautiful. So basically, I've been sharing my journey of going through this experience. If you haven't seen the first two videos, I definitely would recommend watching those first, because truthfully, most of this is just, it won't make sense. It's like coming into the movie in the middle, right? So I have in the description box below my Orion Lifetime Part 1, Part 2, and like I said, this was never supposed to be a series, but things keep happening, stuff keeps coming up, and I want to be really real and authentic with you and share with you what a healing process looks like, because it's not clean and it's not perfect, and there's a lot to it. And so I feel like this could definitely give people an insider look into that. So where we left off in the last video, my Orion Lifetime Part 2 was about soul retrieval. So I had a part of myself fractured off of the other part of my soul. This character, or this version of myself, was an avian being on Orion, in the Orion constellation, in the actual belt of Orion. Her name was Avia, and she was a really profound person, but had a lot of trauma happen to her. And she had, her parents were a part of a kingdom. So like if they had kingdoms the way we do here on Earth, which I'm sure it's very different, it would be like the king and queen of like the avian beings in that particular planet, because there's kingdoms on all the planets, right? So she would have been like their daughter, and because of that, she was used, not against her will or anything, but her father made a decision to have her marry someone from another like big group of people that was also in a high standing, to create like a bridge between those two races. Now this just happened to be a reptilian race, a big group. They arrived into the Orion constellation as refugees, and at that time they were really willing and open to working with these avian beings. So they were working together to bring like unity and harmony between multiple kinds of races. So that didn't turn out well. I won't go into all the details because then this video will end up being super long. So you know from watching the other two what happened, right? How Avia lost her child, her husband, her people, and her entire planet. And then she just, it was too much, it was super overwhelming, and she just turned off. Like she doesn't remember crossing over into the light. She died, she passed away because she lost the whole planet, all of the people, everything gone in a huge fire. And she just, after she died, she just remembers blackness and nothing more. So didn't have that crossing over experience where you experience the healing pods, right? Like in the video, What Happens When You Die, which you can find on my channel, how when you cross over, you meet with your friends and family and you experience those healing pods, a life review, like a holographic life review first, and then the healing pods, and then the integration, and then like planning for your next adventure. So she didn't get that, right? I didn't get that in this lifetime, right? So because of that, that piece of me, that part of my soul that was Avia, just like turning a light switch off, it just completely turned off. And so the last video was all about soul retrieval and getting that piece back, bringing it back to life and fusing us back together into one. So the only thing that I want to say from about the second video is when I watched it back, I recorded that video like right after that experience because I like to do it when the memory is fresh and it had just happened. So that was when I went to the Galactic Federation of Light and experienced the healing pods and the ray that they were directing on us to like fuse us back together. So I had the healing, but I hadn't done the integration yet. So in watching back the video number 2, I can really see that I was like disidentifying with Avia by just like calling her Avia. And I don't know, it was like I was talking about another person. It wasn't like I was talking about myself, right? So I watched that video back like after, doing a few weeks of the healing and the integration. And I watched that video and I'm like, okay, like I definitely wasn't there yet. I really wanted to share everything that I had been through. And that's what I mean about like sharing the process as I'm going. You can see how it's going. Like in the way that I'm talking in that video, you can really see that I had not integrated that part of myself yet, but was definitely like on the way to that because of the way that I referred to her in like third person the entire video. And then also at the end of that video, in case you were wondering, I had a visitor at the end of the video and somebody that came in, a spirit that came into my space to like have a meeting with me. And I said that in the video, that I didn't know who it was, but that they were there waiting. And you can see it like threw me off. And so I kind of just like tried to end the video. So just in case you're wondering who that was, it turned out that it was Othala, my brother from that lifetime, who's now on the Orion Council of Light. And he actually is the one that helped me to realize that, because he showed up and he was wanting to talk with Avia. And I'm like, oh, of course, like you're her brother. Like, and he's like, like I'm your brother, like you're Avia. Like, what are you, like pointing out how I was really like still disassociating from that part of myself. And it's so interesting that our minds do this to protect us. So again, this can be happening in childhood as well, or in these past lifetimes, where your mind like disassociates from the trauma to protect you because it was too much. Especially when we're children, it's too much to process. Like, you can't. So this is where that soul fracturing can happen. It can happen in this lifetime with a very difficult childhood, and it can happen in past lifetimes as well. So I got to thinking about that, and I really think that PTSD is a symptom of that. So I think that people that have PTSD have a soul fracture, because the fracture is in the mind and measured and seen as PTSD, and that same fracture is in the soul and the person. I think they're connected. So maybe when you heal and you do the soul retrieval and the integration of the pieces of yourself back into wholeness, maybe you can heal the PTSD completely as well. I think that that's definitely possible. I really think that they're connected. So here's something really interesting that's happened since video 2. I recently met my mother from the Orion lifetime. So when I was Avia, my mother showed up for me, and I'm going to tell you afterwards how she showed up. It's very interesting, and it involves a relationship with a client, which is super cool. That's why I love connecting with you all so much. Like, we are such a tight-knit community, and we all are resonating with each other so hard because there are so many past life connections between us. It's crazy. Like, I feel like we're all finding the group of us. So anyway, so when I met her, her name is Antara. She is part woman, part peacock being. So as you know, avian beings can be any different bird. Like, they have the advanced human DNA plus the advanced avian DNA of whatever bird of their choosing, and then those are put together. So it's a humanoid shape where the person is standing upright with legs and arms, but then they would have these bird-like features, usually always a beak, the feathers over the head and face, and generally wings folded behind them. So she was like, oh my God, so beautiful, you guys. So beautiful. She had teal feathers, a little gray beak. Her eyes were like a reflective, like opal, which was going from green to purple, I believe. And, you know, it was really amazing. When she first showed up, it was really, really shocking and surprising to me. So this being shows up as a part of a reading. And for me, I've explained this in the psychic video, the psychic tips and clarity about psychic gifts. So I've told you in that video how when I see with my third eye, I see the person's eyes first, and then it zooms out. So like first just the eyes appear, then it zooms out and I see more of them, then it zooms out and I see the whole body, and then it zooms out further and I can see like the scene of where they are, and a little bit further, and then I can see the people around them. And that's how a past life or a parallel life reading begins, by like describing all of that. So she came through and I saw her eyes and then her beak and then her face, and then there she was standing before me, and I was just blown away, like mouth open, like what? And I knew right away, like running into your own mother, you know, like I knew right away. And right away I was like, mother? Because Avia didn't like call them mom and dad. It was mother and father. It was very proper. And that's what I felt coming through, like my avian personality. And I was like, mother? And she just smiled and laughed. And I was just in so much shock, but so happy. And we really like caught up. We talked about everything that happened. We talked about my soul retrieval, how I had been turned off for so long, and that was really difficult and emotional for her. And she was so happy to obviously see me back online, right? But there were things that were happening, like, so as she's talking to me, there were these mannerisms, like the way that she would turn her head down, or I don't know, there would be certain ways that she would move, and it looked just like me. Like, not necessarily Avia, but Avia too, but also just like Jenny, like very much like me. There was an essence, you know, when you recognize someone, like, you know, a lot of you recognize me from other lifetimes and feel like a really strange feeling about like particularly the eyes, but also mannerisms, right? I was getting that hard. I was like, I had to keep stopping. And like, I actually had to look away a few times, like, okay, hold on. I just need to calm down for a second. Like, you are freaking me out. Like, you are me. And she would laugh and say, well, you're probably more me than I am you, since it's like mother-daughter. But yes, it was so crazy. It was like meeting my mother again. It was like she had been gone for so long and here she was. And I'm just so grateful to have her back in my life. And it's interesting that she didn't show up until I did the work, right? Because I knew about Avia, video number 1, knew all of that, was working through the healing, video number 2, still no sign of anything like that. I never even thought of like my parents, I really didn't. And then here we are, video 3, after the integration, and here she showed up for me. So that is like the pathway of this healing that it's taken. So as soon as I became Avia again, became her again, right? Like, it's not just remembering and having it be separate from you. You become that person again. And like in that integration of Jenny and Avia, I feel more like both. Like, there are moments when I feel like a lot like Avia. There are moments when I feel a lot like Jenny, but I'm both now. You know, like, it's not like one is separate from the other. I can be both, or I can choose to have aspects of one or the other, but it feels whole. So then she brings out my father. Like, I was not, like I said, like, this wasn't even supposed to be a series. I was not planning on making a video number 3. And I certainly wasn't planning on meeting my parents from Orion. Like, this is such a happy ending to this whole story. And it might not be an ending, knowing me. There's probably going to be, who knows? I just allow it to continue. I always allow healing to continue as far as it wants to go. And I will continue putting in that work and that effort as long as it wants to keep leading me somewhere, right? And you feel when there's a finality and like a closure. So I don't know if we're going any further with this. I feel like there's more to the story because this is such a huge part. This is like my soul, right? Like this lifetime is just as real for me as my Earth lifetime. Sometimes it feels even more real. Like, it was really huge and important in my life. So she brings up my father anyway. And that was just wild. So his name is Eldwin. He is a blue avian. So when I couldn't quite describe to you what Avia was, and I was getting confused, and the first video I'm like, I think it's blue avian, but I'm not sure. And in the second video I'm like, but it looks more like a peacock avian, so maybe it's that. I had a parent of both. No freaking wonder that was so confusing. And then that makes me think, like, for you guys, you might not be just one thing, right? Like, think about Earth. Like, I mean, most of us, including myself, are mixed races here on Earth. Why would we not be mixed races in other lifetimes? Like, of course we would be. What are we thinking, right? Especially when it's like it's avian on avian action happening. So it still makes like sense, right? Just like on Earth, it's all these different human races. So it's different avian races. So he's blue avian, she's peacock avian, and together I had qualities of both. And I looked like both, and that's why I couldn't put my finger on it. And when I just described it to you, I just did the best I could with what she looked like at that time. So my father was really, really very awesome. He was very stoic, and he seemed like a little bit more reserved than my mom. And he was a little bit quiet at first, but then we got talking, and there was actually a lot of emotion there that he was holding on to, a lot of guilt. It was a lot like when Othala came to me and was feeling terrible guilt that he had been carrying around for so long about the things that happened in that lifetime, and almost tentatively approaching me like, will you accept me? Please accept my apology. He was forgiven before he even asked for forgiveness. And like I said to him, there was nothing to forgive. You haven't done anything wrong. Like, just because you arranged this marriage, it doesn't mean that it was your fault. None of that was your fault. And he was just really upset though because of what it resulted in. He's like, yeah, but look at what happened. Like, look at everything that happened to you, and then we lost you for so long. You've been gone from us for so long. Like, just in that dormant state, just like that soul fracture, that dormant, turned off, in darkness energy. And so I definitely understand that that really hurt them. And I mean, there's nothing I can do about that, right? Like, I didn't know. I was doing the best that I could to come back online. And now here we are reunited, and it's just so beautiful. And I just also wanted to say on this part that as a starseed, do you feel like you were dropped off in a family that wasn't actually your family? Like maybe how somebody who's adopted might feel? Like you just, like it's not actually your family in so many ways. Like you don't feel it. It's pretty obvious in a lot of ways, all of that. So many of us feel that way. And especially in this lifetime. Because in this lifetime on Earth, we don't have with us as much of our soul group and soul family that we normally would. Most starseeds on Earth right now do not have their twin flames incarnated, do not have their really close, like their soul family parents and siblings incarnated, because we specifically chose very difficult childhoods to wake us up faster, which is really dark and intense, but very effective, very effective. And also, Earth is like a really different place to be right now. There's like a huge waiting line to come here, and it's like very specific souls that came. The starseeds that came are leaders. They are determined. They are the souls that get knocked down and get right back up, that are going through ridiculous amounts of trauma and healing it like in record time. And that still means years, but to even heal that in one lifetime is incredible. And we are these like just super determined, on fire spirits, on fire with it, with our purpose and our passion. Like we know we're here for a reason. It literally like is pushing from within us. Usually in solar plexus, top of your stomach area, you have like a push from within. There's something I'm supposed to be doing. I'm here to do something. I know I'm here to help. I have a soul purpose. I need to remember what my earth mission is. All of that, all of those feelings, right? And getting dropped off in a family that isn't your family. And like, no wonder we feel isolated and lonely. We don't have our regular team with us, like our group, our soul group, like our parents, or like our twin flames, or like even our best friends. A lot of them are hanging out on Pleiades waiting for us, and a lot of them are on our team as our own guides right now, galactic guides and ancestral guides. So just know, like when you're feeling all of these feelings, you are not alone. You are not alone at all. We all came in similar ways. A lot of us probably did come together. I think a lot of us met before we arrived here, like on this mission. And that's why we recognize each other a lot of the time. But you're not alone with those feelings at all. And so for me, like, because on Earth, like in this Earth lifetime as Jenny, like my family's pretty much estranged from me, most of them. And so to have this show up for me, it was like literally finding my parents again. Very, very emotional, very needed for my healing. I like feel like I have a family again that gets me on the level that I'm at and understands me. Like, how beautiful is that? I felt that with Othala when he came through, because I don't have that here on Earth, and any of those kinds of connections. And then to have my parents both show up, like, wow, I feel really blessed and grateful. So, are you ready to hear how this all came to be? How I even met my parents, like what happened, right? So this is such an incredible story. This was a client connection. And I'm actually probably not going to like say anyone's name though, because I don't like to put people on blast and it's not my story to tell. part of it is I'm only going to tell the part that's mine to tell, and I'm going to respect the rest. So I had a client like that wanted to work with me a few months ago, I think. And the first thing that we did together was a spirit guide reading. So in the spirit guide reading, something really strange happened. This person had a guide that was my guide. That's never happened before. Why would that even happen? Like, that doesn't even make sense to me. And I couldn't understand that. And I actually kept pushing it away. Like, what are you doing here, to the guide? Like, what? I'm in the middle of a reading, like, come back later. And they kept pushing and pushing. And I'm like, what is going on right now? And they're like, the guide, I can share who that was. The guide is a Pleiadian. His name is Daniel. He works in communication, and also, like, he's a pilot as well. But for me, he works a lot with, like, my communication lines. I have 3 communication lines hardwired to the Galactic Federation of Light, which is where he is. Those are 9th degree placements on your chart. So for me, it's ship communication, right? So I have 3, which is very rare. And that's because I was like, if I'm going down there, I am not going like disconnected from you. I will have my phone lines. I will have 3. I will make sure that you will be able to hear me, and I will be able to hear you, which is why for me, clairaudience was my biggest gift, and something that was with me my entire life. As a kid, I felt it and I knew that it was real, but I didn't know what it was. Like, as a kid, you don't know labels like clairaudience. So that's why I'm clairaudient, like those placements. Anyway, so Daniel is really great with working with me with those communication lines and like connecting me to things that I need to connect to, such as your teams. If I'm doing a reading for you guys, I actually get him to help me like get all those like plug into your team so that it's like really crystal clear and very, very accurate, everything that they're saying, which is why I have so much success with my readings, because like this just really works for me. So anyway, how could Daniel be showing up for this other person? Like, I didn't understand that. And Daniel said to me, like, it's okay, Jenny. Like, I know them too. I'm here for them as well. Also a guide for them. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then I went with it and it was fine, right? It was just me kind of being like, what's going on? Just because it hadn't happened before. But I'm just going to assume that more and more of this stuff is going to keep happening as like we're finding each other, as this like community is growing. So cut to a couple of weeks later, I think, on the timeline, this same client decided that they now wanted the past parallel life reading. And I'm like, great, that's amazing. So we'll do that. So during this reading for the past parallel life, this person had lifetimes that were feeling really weird, eerily familiar to me. They weren't my lifetimes, but it's like I had seen them before. Like, you know, when you watch a movie, like as a kid, like long, long, long time ago, and you don't remember, and then you rewatch that movie like as an adult and you're like, have I seen this before? Like, you almost know what's going to happen, but it's that feeling. So they had a lifetime where they served with the Galactic Federation of Light as an ambassador. This is something that is actually pretty rare. A lot of people, communicate with the Galactic Federation, but to work for them like directly like that is pretty rare, but it's something that I've done, right? It's something I'm doing right now. And so that was like a familiarity, but also just the lifetime itself. I'm like, that feeling. And then same reading, another one of their lifetimes, they were an avian being that was a swan. Isn't that cool? Living on the constellation of Cygnus, Cygnus, Cygnus. And again, that same weird feeling. So I did kind of try to relay that I was getting a weird feeling about that, but I didn't want to be creepy and be like, oh, I think I know you. Like, I don't know. I don't want to insert myself into anyone else's reading ever. It's not about me. This is about you. But this was almost too much, right? So I said a few things and that was enough. So the next thing that happened was this same client decided to have to book a reading for their partner. And I literally never thought, I should have thought that something weird was going to happen, but why would it? It's a different person. But this time it was the complete cosmic reading, right? So it's like a book that you receive. It's so huge. And you get the past parallel life reading plus the spirit guide reading. So all of that, so the 3 different guides, the 3 different lifetimes, plus 3 questions answered. So it's really big. In this lifetime, when I was doing the spirit guide portion of the reading, that's when my mother showed up as a guide for this other person. So the only 2 times that one of my guides has been a guide for someone else was 2 people that were married. What is happening? Why would that be? How do we connect this crazy mystery? So I definitely had to stop the reading because I was having an experience now and I don't want it to be about me. So I had to whoa, let's put this on pause. Mother? What is happening right now? And then we had that whole experience talking with my mom and my father that I described to you earlier. So here's the connection. So this lovely couple were swan beings together on the constellation of Cygnus. My parents were in the constellation of Orion. They were best friends, super, super good friends of my parents. They would come to Orion and see us and hang out, spend time with my parents and stay for a while. And my parents would go to Cygnus and do the same because they were all so close. So no wonder all of this, no wonder they have guides that are my guides. No wonder they feel so familiar to me. I literally knew them as I was growing up. So, how do you tell someone that? I definitely felt super strange trying to relate this information to people that I have never met ever in this life, never even seen, just had their names, and then this energetic impression, which I definitely have learned to trust. But I really felt like it was important to share that. And so basically, we just keep, through our communication now, we just keep unlocking things for one another. So the 3rd reading, that full, complete cosmic reading that I did for the partner of the client, completely unlocked their first 2 readings. And they even said wow, I feel like spouses should each get a reading and then read them together because it's 2 sides of the same story in a lot of cases, and it makes sense. It makes way more sense when you do it like that. I never even thought of that. I never even thought of recommending that. This is such a first, right? So thank goodness that this partner decided to have a reading, because it unlocked the first 2 readings for the client, and then it literally unlocked this huge chunk of that lifetime for me about why that happened at all with the first client, why I was feeling all these weird feelings, and then bringing my mother and father back into the picture. Talk about alignment, divine timing, being in the right place at the right time, being on your soul path, and showing me how important this soul retrieval healing really was, because look what it created for me. So again, super grateful, so blessed. So I've asked my parents to stay with me on my team. I've requested this of my twin flame before too. So here's something that you can request if you want to. I mean, they can choose to do so or not, but you can definitely make a request. I requested of my mother and my father, please do not incarnate somewhere else just yet. Can you just wait? Because I really don't want to lose you on my team. If there's something that's going to take you away from being available to me, please just don't, because I haven't had you in so long and I really want this right now. And at this point in my life, I'm just asking you to be there. And they were so like 1000% more than willing, and even said that they were honored to be there for me in that way. And like, I just feel like we're just gonna like, just our bond is just gonna grow and grow and grow. And it's like I've got this beautiful little family unit happening now with Antara and Eldwin and Othala and Avia. Like, just makes me feel so happy. And I just want to say that all of this is 1000% possible, 1,000,000% possible for anyone that is looking for this kind of healing, reconnection. Like, this is truly your soul. You are the soul. You are the eternal soul within. You are not the character that you're playing right now on the other side of this camera. That is not truly who you are, though it is an important aspect. But you are so much more, so much more. And I am so grateful for you. Thank you. Thank you for being here on Earth and going through this with me so that we can do it together and none of us has to be alone. And to these particular 2 clients, thank you doesn't even cover it. Oh, there she goes crying again. Why do I cry in all these damn videos? Thank you just doesn't even cover it. Thank you so much for coming here. Oh my God. The fact that you chose to come to Earth, which is like hella hard and awful. In a lot of ways, it's beautiful too, of course. But I'm just saying, like, really, let's be real. And you did it at the same time that I did. Maybe to like, I don't know why. I don't know, maybe there's more of a connection there, but for you to like show up in my life in this way and for us to find each other like countries apart, that's crazy shit. And I'm just so grateful. Thank you for like having the courage to speak up and ask for these readings, and then also confirming so much for me in your like interaction and communication, because it went both ways. Like I said, we unlocked things for one another. That particular client was like, I'm so glad that you shared all that with me, Jenny, because honestly, I was also feeling really weird. Like I didn't know why I felt so familiar with you and like almost like affectionate, like I was probably like that parent to kid feeling almost, because, you know, they're best friends with my parents, and like, you know, wanting to like embody that, like, you know, being just so happy for me and proud of me and like wanting to express those things and not really it being appropriate, and like all of these weird feelings now make so much sense, right? So anyway, that's the end of the saga up until now. So Orion part 3, if you're enjoying following along, I know that these videos are really different than my other videos, but this is being like very real and authentic with you all. Like it doesn't get more authentic than that, because we're finding our way through this, right? And I just want to share that journey. So if you're enjoying this kind of video, please let me know in the comments, and that would be really nice to hear. And then also please like and share this video if you would like to. If you like the video though, you taking that second to click like means a lot more to me than just one click. It's very encouraging, and I'm grateful for you when you do that. But before you leave, please make sure that you're subscribed, because new videos every Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, plus the new Galactic guidance that also comes out once a week. If you want to work with me, if you feel called to work with me or resonating hard with my energy, then listen to that. Listen to that. Let's work together and unlock some stuff for you, right? Unlock your spirit guides or your team, or unlock these past parallel lives. I have 4 different kinds of readings, plus 3 or 4 different one-on-one sessions available via Zoom. This is all in the links in the description box, so super easy to find. Click around, see if there's anything that resonates with you. Don't be shy. You've got to, like, when you resonate with something and you're really feeling it, you've got to be, you know, brave. The universe rewards bravery, so go for it. I love you all so much. If you're still here at the end of this video, thank you. Thank you for supporting me. And of course, before we go, I want to remind you, listen to your heart. and the quiet voice within. Because you are so much more than the body you are in. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye.